Good afternoon, Rotarians. I was reminded when I read in the paper today that it was Donald Bradman's birthday, that the last time I spoke to the Adelaide Rotary Club was on his birthday 35 years ago, and he was in the audience. There wouldn't be too many other people, I think, who were here on that occasion, but it just shows how old I'm getting. Anyway, it's a great pleasure to come talk to you. The reason that I'm giving you this speech today is because I gave it to the Stirling Rotary Club and they got a bit excited about it. So it's a topic which I've not spoken on before, but it's something that I have learned about in the last few years of my life. So I want to talk about three things today. One is the fascinating world of witnessing documents. The second is that three important documents that our association is recommending everybody to have. And thirdly is a call, like you have called, for new young JPs or even older JPs, because we also want to refresh the people who are doing it. So just to start off with the fascinating world of witnessing documents. At some stage in everybody's life, they will have to get a document witnessed. Many government departments, professional organisations, accreditation bodies have built documents into their processes for doing their business, which require an external person to prove identity or to certify some documents. We did a study and we found that every single government agency in South Australia does that. For example, the Treasury, if you lose money, if you've got some lost money, the Treasury will want you to go and tell a JP, get a witness statement. If you want a teacher's registration, you need to get a JP. The APRA, the Health Professional Accreditation Association, all those checks that people have to do now, police checks, working with children's checks, working with vulnerable people's checks, they all need a JP or some external witness. Because of fraud, banks are now requiring people to prove their ID with a third party, especially the online banks that don't have face-to-face service. So we are constantly confronted with people from banks, building associations and other financing authorities to get their IDs accredited. JPs and others are required for notice of intended marriage. If you want to change the name of a minor in your family, if you want to move the internment rights for cemeteries, now I put that in because lots and lots of people do. If you want, and again in South Australia, a very, very important job that we do, and that is that we do proof of life documents. So if you come from overseas and you're getting a pension, from Italy or Greece or Austria or Switzerland or anywhere, you have to prove to your country that's providing you the pension that you're still alive. So the Justices of the Peace prove that you're still alive. Of course, witnesses are needed for affidavits. If you want to tell the ATO that someone's died, you need to notify them with a JP signature or an external person to sign it, and so on. If you lose a lottery ticket, come to a JP, we'll sign the document that says you're claiming it. The Victorian Association of Justices found 500 at least forms that JPs and others are required to witness. And in South Australia, I did a quick check and we've found about 200, but I think that we'd have more than that. JPs alone in South Australia witness more than 800,000 documents a year. Some people have claimed 1 million, but I'm a bit more on the conservative side. But it's at least 800,000 documents. Some interesting recent changes in our business, and that is that you can now have someone witness a document remotely. And so our JPs and others have had to learn how to, with video and scanning, how to witness documents in China. If there's a piece of Australian property that the Chinese person wants to transfer to his wife in Australia, we have to organise a remote witnessing in China. And of course, we do provide the same service for regional and rural Australia. and particularly South Australia. The AI is going to make a huge difference to all of our worlds in documents. If you want an affidavit now, you don't have to go to a solicitor. You can go to ChatGPT and say, I want an affidavit for the XYZ court, I want it to say this, and out will come an affidavit which is acceptable to the courts. Take it to a JP and you can get it tabled before a court. Lots of businesses are now doing electronic documents only, and so there's now digital signatures and all sorts of other things that are now getting a bit more complicated for witnessing documents. The other thing that's interesting, it should have a challenge, and that is that everybody now has their original documents in their personal device. So people come in to a JP and with their phone, and they say, here's my driver's licence, here's my bill from the local council to prove where I live, and we have to be able to establish that's an original document. You may not know, but if you have your licence in your phone from your Service SA app, if you take it to someone and say, here's my licence, we will shake it, and if the date appears, we will know that it's an original document. I can also authorise an original document, or original licence from my phone to your phone. So, documents can be witnessed by a variety of people, but not all people who can witness documents can witness all documents. So, who can witness documents? Lawyers can witness most documents. Authorised witnesses can witness most documents. Justices of the peace can witness most documents. Citizens can witness some documents. For example, a will. If you want to witness for your will, you only need to be 18 and over, and you don't have to go anywhere near an authorised witness. Any 18-year-old and above can witness a will. Now, yourself can witness a will. If you want to make a statement to the Commonwealth Government and you have a MyGov account, you can submit a statutory declaration through your MyGov account. It talks to your account, proves that it's you, and that is sufficient for the Commonwealth Government. So I just want to talk about three of these witnesses. And because I'm mentioning authorised witnesses because a lot of you may well be authorised witnesses and you don't know it. State and federal governments, during COVID in particular, people couldn't find JPs. So they opened up all sorts of professional groups to be able to witness everything that a JP can do except for affidavits. So, there are 250,000 of them in South Australia. So these are accountants, teachers, psychologists, doctors, public servants of 5 years standing, ministers of religion, and chemists, just to name a few. And it's very interesting because they don't actually know that they can do it. And architects are also on that list. So if you're any of those categories, you're an authorised witness, and you can do quite a lot of document witnessing. The second group of people are the notary publics. Now, notary publics are always lawyers, but not all lawyers are notary publics. Notary publics are appointed by the Supreme Court. There are about 50 of them active in South Australia, and even though there's about 80 of them on the books. These are very important for overseas financial transactions. It's the oldest branch of the legal profession. Notaries have been around longer than Christianity. The true ancestors of notaries were born during the times of the Roman Empire, and many regard history's first notary to being a Roman slave called Tito, who developed a shorthand system which he called noti for taking down the speeches of Cicero. And because literacy was rampant, of course, widespread, the notary, the noti, the person who took notes, started to prepare contracts, wills and other important documents. when the civil law experienced its renaissance in medieval Italy from the 13th century onwards, the notary was established as a central institution in the law, and it's a position which still exists in civil law in Europe and South America. In 1279, the Archbishop of Canterbury was authorised by the Pope to appoint notaries, and most notaries in those days were members of the clergy. In Queensland today, the Archbishop of Canterbury still appoints notaries. And eventually, the common law notary came into its own, and they are now officials. Now, what they do is that they are officials who witness the truth of a situation. They don't witness the signature, they witness the truth. So they have to be satisfied in an international transaction that what is happening is above board. Their duty is to the transaction, not to the people. They charge for their service, and lots of people want JPs to witness their overseas transactions because we're free and they're not. But we cannot witness overseas transactions that require them to be certified as true. Now the third lot is the Justice of the Peace. In South Australia, there are about 5,000 of them, although lots of them are what we call ghosts because they don't actually do anything. So they're appointed by the Attorney General, and they are appointed for 10 years and they get reappointed, hopefully. Now, most of the services of the JPs are done in council office buildings like libraries, or they visit residential facilities, hospitals, courts and prisons. JPs are forbidden for taking any money for their services and from giving legal advice. And that's very tempting when people come and say something that you know the answer to, but you must not ever give it. Only lawyers can give legal advice. Now, Justices of the Peace have a long history. In the reign of Henry VII, Knights of the Realm were appointed to administer justice by hearing offences and passing judgments. Late in 1195, Richard the Lionheart commissioned knights to preserve the peace and called them custodes pacis, meaning keepers of the peace. They were responsible to the king. And in 1361, Edward III conferred on these knights the title Justice of the Peace, and their powers were considerable. They could take declarations of marriage, they could undertake a range of administrative duties, including licensing alehouses. They could issue arrest warrants, and in 1576 they were required to build and maintain houses of correction. Their powers declined in the 18th century with the appointment of a well-educated magistracy and later the constabulary. And the English tradition laid the foundations for justices in South Australia at settlement in 1836. In those days, the Justices of the Peace were appointed from across the whole state, and in keeping with the times, they were mostly male landholders. However, their behaviour was so appalling that the governor in 1862 rescinded all of their appointments and replaced them with people of good character and residency in the community. And that is still the requirement today, hasn't changed. So a lot of the work that you will know about Justice of the Peace is they do statutory declarations, proof of identity, proof of life, do lots of court work. But what you don't probably know is that they're also required for drug destruction. So if the police want to burn up a whole lot of drugs, one of us has to follow along behind until they're finally gone. Justices of the Peace are some of the witnesses to a voluntary assisted dying documents, and there's a whole lot of other interesting jobs. I'm saying all those things because I want you to think about being a JP in a minute. So those are the three big things: the authorised witness, the notary public, and the Justice of the Peace. They're the ones who do most of the work in South Australia. Now, the second point I wanted to make was that about the three documents. The Aged Care Financing Authority in November 2018 reported that most aged care planning takes place in the hospital car parks. Now, if you think about that. Now, one of the things that we, the Justice Association is we're on a mission to make sure that older people have 3 documents. And I'm not necessarily talking to you because you're not younger than me, most of you, and you're not old. But you might like to tell older relations that they should have a will, an enduring power of attorney, which allows you to appoint someone who's capable to look after your finances, and an advanced care directive. Now, the hospitals are now asking for advanced care directives when people are admitted, or do you have an advanced care directive? And lots of people are now tabling them up in the cloud in their health record. So 3 things for everybody to do it. Now, ACDs, and I think I've got time to tell you this quick story, they're called Ulysses Agreements. Now, Ulysses was the king of Ithaca, according to Homer, and he was coming back from the Trojan Wars. It took him 10 years. A lot of things happened to him on the way, as you all know. But one of the things he wanted to do was to hear the sirens call. So he knew, because Circe, who was a witch, told him, if you succumb to the sirens' call, you will die on the rocks. You will, resist them. So she advised him to put wax in the ears of the boatmen, to have their swords turned to him, and for him to rope himself to the mast. And whatever he said, however he screamed out to the boatman, under no circumstances are you to untie me. So he made a rational decision about a time when he wasn't going to be rational. And that's why it's called a Ulysses Agreement when you sign your ACD. So I just thought you might like that interesting piece of history. Now the last thing that I sit as a JP I used to sit in Campbelltown, I now sit in Burnside, and I sit in other places. And it's my favourite thing to do, I have to tell you, in the whole wide world. It's much better than sitting on a board. Don't have to worry about governance. All you have to do is actually really help people. But people come to us in a terrible mess. So my request to you is, have you got your papers in order? Do you know where your will is, your marriage certificate, your birth certificate, and all those other certificates that someone in your family will want to know about? Have you collected them in some place? Because I've seen the anguish of families who can't find any of those documents, and suddenly every government department wants those documents, and it's very stressful. So my plea to all the sensible people of the world is, could you make sure your documents are in order? Now, the third point that I wanted to make is about young JPs. We want some young JPs. Our youngest JP was 18 when she applied. She's a very sensible young woman. She was accepted as JP. She went immediately to the Campbelltown signing centre and started working did the Sunday shift. It's a wonderful thing for young people. I hesitate to say it's good for your CV because JPs aren't supposed to promote themselves. But it does actually say to the rest of society that you're an honourable, respectable citizen. And lots of people think that it's kind of old people being JPs. And what we are saying is everybody should think about it, because really the world needs more. And there are more and more reasons why we want to be JP people. People want more JPs. So they're not a dying race, they're a growing race. More and more jobs are coming our direction. I've got some pamphlets if you want to know how to be a JP. I've got them with me. But so I hope that my short speech today has demystified some of the things about witnessing documents. If anybody wants to,
Okay, thank you.
Stephen.
Getting your mic. Thank you for all that, and particularly all the wise words you gave us about having our documents in order. And I can tell you personally that is very good advice. So, questions.
I've got the first question, thank you. My dad was a JP for many years at Campbelltown, and he used to have everyone come to our lounge and sit there, and they'd come in, he'd lock us terrible kids out the back so we couldn't hear. And we'd always ask, Dad, what's going on? He goes, seeing a man about a dog. So that's what I thought it was. And asking for a friend. What did those gentlemen do in 1836 to 1850?
The ones in...
They got banned. What did they get up to?
Well, they were not unbiased, and they were judgmental, and they were harsh, and they didn't have any sense of fair play, and there were a lot of complaints about what they were doing. So my friend Stephen.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you for that address. It's good to see you're still continuing your exceptional years of public service in this role, and I congratulate you to it. I was a JP for 45 years.
And why aren't you now one still?
Well, I guess that's another story. Maybe I'm getting too old, but a lot of the things you said were new to me, and I think I just asked the question, what training is offered by your society to JPs? Because there's a lot of complexity in this, particularly advanced care directives and so on, that I struggled with, and no one ever told me as a JP how I should handle those things.
Yeah. So. Well, much to our distress, there is no formal requirement for training of JPs. There has been a long-held view that it's only about witnessing documents. We are, in fact, the front line against vulnerable elderly abuse as well. I forgot to say that. You know, I have often had to say to a son, could you just leave the office and ask Mum, do you know what you're signing? Did you know that if you sign this document, your son can access your bank account today as you walk out of this room? Oh, no. So there is an awful, as you say, Stephen, that it's not an easy job. The association does its very, very best to train JPs. We've got courses for everything. But as we said, not all JPs are members, and there are a lot of ghosts out there who nobody knows. And we certainly know that a lot of older JPs have got no idea how to prove a document on an iPhone as an original document. So we have been working with the Attorney General's Department to introduce some. I can't talk about it because we're still talking about it, but you know, we are on a mission to get training for JPs because it's really quite serious stuff. Darcy.
Thanks very much, Sue, for your very interesting and informative talk. You mentioned VAT.
Yep.
And I've had a couple of good friends maybe that have actually taken their license.
Yep.
Maybe look at it. You mentioned that you're involved.
They have to sign a document. A person who's doing it has to sign a document with an independent witness that they know what they're doing.
So they do that.
They don't have anything. The witnesses do nothing about the process.
No, but when that allows them to get the kit, from what I've gathered from my research.
Yep.
That allows the kit to be delivered to their home, but then they can go up to 6 months.
Yeah.
And do you get involved again? When
No.
Okay.
There's a whole industry of very, very, very clever, wonderful people who do the VAD stuff. All we do is witness one document, which is that they know what they're doing. It's an outside person, so no one can ever say, you know, the doctors persuaded them or someone else persuaded them. And they have to be of sound mind. We're not part of the process.
So I've been a JP for 40 years and a member of the association. When I joined, it was very easy to become a JP.
Yeah.
You just got put through the 3rd degree and that was it. Just a couple of years ago, I did what I called a refresher course that was being run by the association for new justices, and I found that incredibly useful and helpful.
Thank you. It's nice to get some feedback that we did something useful and helpful. Because we think we do, but every now and then you get some. It used to be a bit harder because you used to be interviewed by a Justice of the Peace and they used to decide whether or not you were able to do it. Now there's no such screening.
So is it worth mentioning, as far as the education, the level 1, level 2, level 3? That
sure.
Level 1, level 2, level 3,
Sure.
and the online training that's available.
There is. For people who are members of the association, there are awards 1, 2, 3, And not very many people have level 3. I've got level 3. It was the most nerve-wracking thing I've done in a long time. I had to go and do an exam, you know. It was like a Viva, like they supervised me in process. And I've never been so nervous in all my life. The 1 and 2 awards are easy. Level 3 is a bit tough. But if you survive it, you know you're an okay JP.
Philip Clonic, Sue. Could you re-clarify for me, because early in your speech you talked about JPs not giving advice,
Yes.
but then later in your speech you talked about talking to someone and asking their child to go out of the room.
Yes.
Do you understand what you're signing?
Yes.
That sounds to me awfully like you're giving a bit of advice,
Yeah.
but probably not. Would you clarify that?
Certainly. We have to be absolutely convinced that the person knows the document that they're signing and they're signing with no duress. Those are two things we have to establish. They're not necessarily, it's not necessarily legal advice, it's about the awareness of the person that whose document you're witnessing. If somebody who doesn't speak English has a document in front which is in perfect English, then it's up to me to say, did your mother write that document? No, she doesn't speak English. Does your mother know what that document is? Oh yes, she knows, she knows. Transfer property in India from here to there, back and you know, you just have to be on, it's like being on the ball. You don't say to people, you should go to court or you should do this or you should have... You know, we don't tell people what to write in their affidavits. That's their business. We can get in trouble if we do that. This is about establishing that they know what they're doing. It's, yes.
I think we're out of... Oh, back to me. Okay. Leaves it for... Come back. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Leaves it for me to say thank you very much, Sue, for an excellent, informative and challenging address.
Thank you, Carol.
And we hope this is a small token of appreciation, some Rotary wine. It's called... What's it called?
101 not out.
101 Not Out.
That's
So
good.
please enjoy it and thank you so
Can
much.
I just say that JPs aren't allowed to accept gifts, but I haven't witnessed anybody's statements.